All right, so we're not going to do the whole review. We just did it last week. So we're just sort of going to take off from where we left off. And basically, in short, the Alter Rebbe was pointing out the whole Geula process and how the Geula process begins with the voice of the bride finally being heard, and finally the sort of the feminine comes home to their lights, and that allows for the most beautiful face-to-face unity of the masculine and the feminine, which everything, whatever we do down here, is sort of like affects the above. And so that is going to bring about the final redemption. And so all these truths about the Geula process are actually found in the Sheva Brachas blessings. Particularly, the Alter Rebbe focuses on number 6 and 7, which is quite interesting because 7 is the Malchus and 6 is the past generation. So it's so ironic how symbolic that is. I don't think anybody knew that at that time, that it would be the 7th Rebbe, which would be Dar Malchus, which would be the Geula process, when the Alter Rebbe, which was the first Chabad Rebbe, actually wrote this mimer. Okay, and then so last week you sort of went into the fact that just like the Rebbe began with talking about the betrothal, which is sort of like a superficial relationship which binds the groom and the bride, so they're committed to each other, but they're not allowed to be intimate on a real intimate level until they consume the marriage. And so too is this with Hashem and the Jewish people, where the revelation at Mount Sinai was a betrothal, because it was a commitment, and they sort of like committed to each other that they're going to one day get married. But it was because the Jewish people could not contain the intense light of Hashem, the deepest truths of Hashem, it would not allow them to remain alive. It was just they didn't have the vessels to contain, and marriage is about being able to contain the lights of your spouse. That's what it is. It's like to be able to receive everything that your spouse has to give you. Okay, but so that's the same thing with Hashem and the Jewish people, where we need to be prepared to receive everything that the infinite Kucha Brichu wants to give to us, and to become partners in creation, like co-creators. It's like Hashem lets us know what he wants to bring into the world. We sort of manifest it through our desires, through doing whatever we need to do. And then Kucha Brichu, which is the subconscious, the masculine part of Hashem, brings us everything, because we're like a woman, surrendered, and let go, and that kind of thing. And so that whole dance. So we weren't ready for that, because we didn't have the vessels to be able to contain the great infinite lights of Hashem. And so it was an engagement. And even it's interesting because it says, even though what does it say? She said last week that despite the fact that the entirety of the Torah was given, one second, even at the Edenic level of development that they attained at Mount Sinai. Okay, so they had some kind of level of whatever it was at Har Sinai that was not big enough vessels to be able to contain the full revelation of Hashem, which is Geula. You cannot be in a marriage if you cannot contain the full revelation of your spouse. You know what I mean? It's like whatever he is, whatever he could give you, everything about him, to be able to receive it and work with it, and accept him unconditionally with who he is and love everything he is, all that, we didn't have the vessels and the capacity to contain it at Har Sinai. Okay, so, but when we're going to be married, yeah, that like right now is the preparation for the ability to contain everything. Okay. So now we're going to continue page 16. Okay. So it says, this is why the Talmud describes the relationship formed between Israel and Hashem at Mount Sinai as betrothal, interpreting the day of his spousal's engagement as a reference to the revelation at Sinai. In both cases, engagement and Sinai are only the most superficial layers of the couple. At that time, only the superficial layers of the couple enter into active relationship, while their inner essence stays unengaged and assumes a position of surrounding light. Okay, now I think I mentioned it last week, right? That it's interesting how people, when they're engaged, they act very differently in a relationship to when they're married. They don't really reveal their true self, right? And that's why there's a lot of people that could be living together for 50, 30 years. The minute they become married, they feel free to let you know who you are, and like, oh, I can't handle that real you. And then they get divorced, right? So so there's a level of revelation. The true somebody comes out, even if it's not, of course, the true of everybody is perfect, right? But there's a part of you that has to be developed, but that's the part that you hide when you're in engagement period, which you don't really get to know until the mask comes off and there's no more acting, and now you're getting to know the real deal. Okay. The vessel of the relationship is not developed enough to hold the full intensity of their inner selves, right? If you were engaged and the person really let you know who they are, like all the dark sides, I don't know if it would last very long. So, mit Rahman, as Hashem wants this marriage to go, you could put on an act until, but ultimately, in the future, it's, we're not going to have to go through that. Everybody's already going to be conscious and developed, hopefully. And what you see is what you got. Okay. For this reason, the classic symbol of betrothal is a ring, a circular ornament that surrounds the finger. Okay. Because why? Why is it a ring? Because it's like there's a lot of aspects of a person's self that is not revealed. It's sort of like transcendent. You don't really know the person, right? So whatever he shows to you and you know about him, that's like the part that's revealed, right? But there's always remaining aspects of himself that remain like surrounding, and the woman as well, because, and even like you yourself don't even know who you are until you get married, right? It's interesting because like before we got married, I could imagine, I know for myself that I always thought I was a certain way, but that's because I didn't have to get along with a man, And then when you have to get along with a man, all of a sudden you say, oh, I didn't know I was like that. And I didn't know that was me. So you start to get, and then you have to readjust and learn different ways. So you don't really get to know yourself until you get married. Okay. And you have to figure out how to get along with somebody very different. Okay. And in a beautiful marriage, it's sort of, there's always parts of you that you don't even know yourself, and he doesn't know himself. And as you become closer and you have a face-to-face relationship, you start revealing more in a depth and more beauty and more gifts that you have, because you're supporting each other in becoming, the best versions of yourselves. So that's why like the marriage, the ring symbolizes that, the marriage, because that's like the idea where like there's a lot more to you than we know, and then it's slowly but surely revealed as you interact. When the groom proposes and speaks the halachic formula of engagement, behold, you are sanctified, mikudeshes, it's the word kodesh, holy, right? He effects two mergers. Number one, the superficial layers of himself and his beloved enter an active and committed relationship. Okay, so there's two layers of mergers. There's like you're committed to each other. It's like, it's not only my problem, your problem. If there's no food in the house, one of us got to figure it out. You know what I mean? It's not anymore only me or only you. We don't just live for ourselves. We both got to figure out who's going to do what and who, everybody's role. So that's the active and committed parts of relationship. Okay. And how are you going to show up as a man? How are you going to show up as a woman? Like in the relationship, like day to day, And then there is their respective core levels of soul bond to the vessel relationship as surrounding lights. And that's what I was just talking about, which is like the ring, which is the stuff that you don't really know everything about yourself. You don't really know everything about him. And it's like sort of transcended, and you slowly start revealing all your potential, your true selves, the stuff that you got to work on, all that stuff. So that's like the core levels of soul bond. That's like the surrounding lights.
Sorry, can I ask a quick
Yeah,
question?
sure,
This,
sure.
so you're saying the surrounding lights are the parts of ourselves that we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and okay,
Right, and of the other, and
okay,
that's like it's there, but it's not really
okay.
activated or revealed. And like we're still getting to know. Like, did any of us dream we would be here doing whatever we're doing when we were young? We didn't really know, and it's quite, life brings out different things of us, and we get to do things we never thought we were going to do, and develop things we never thought we were going to develop, and you don't even know that, like, when you're younger. So the reason that he uses the language of sanctification was kodesh, right, kudush, mikudeshes, instead of the actual term for engagement, mu'ureses. It's interesting because what he's saying here is that the ring, I think they gave a ring at that time when they were engaged, right? Oh yeah, engagement ring, right? So now we're not talking about the marriage ring, we're talking about the engagement ring. So the engagement is sort of like symbolic of the fact that there's a lot more to the person that you didn't really reveal yet. Okay, that's the sovev, of the soul. So this is a link. So why isn't it called the mi'ureses, which is the word for engagement? Why is it called the mikudeshes ring? Because this to link his action up to the supreme holiness associated with the sphere of Keser, also a circular ornament that sits upon the head and surrounds the primary organ of consciousness, the brain. Because it's really saying that there's a lot more that's going to be revealed. This is just the beginning. And so the ring is like symbolic of Keser, and we know what Keser is. It's like all these high lights that like are not like sort of abstract and uncontained, right? And that we bring it down in a way that it affects the world, but it's still abstract. So for example, like that's the feminine work, which is that like we could bring, it's like an energy. We bring in an energy of calm, of peace. So it's not something you could hold. It's not money. It's not food. I mean, of course, let's say we could do cook, but it's that the kesser that we bring into the world is that we infuse everything with a special energy that takes everything to the next level. So that's the light of Kesser. It's a transcendent light, but yet because we are able to now create this unity, we're able to have it permeate our day-to-day material existence. Everything is like just so much more pleasant, so much more, it's an energetic light. So this is the basis for the Gemara's comment. Don't read Morasha, inheritance. Okay, this is for Torah Tziva, Lanu Morasha, Moshe Morasha Kehilas Yaakov, right? Don't read it Morasha, inheritance. Rather read it Mi'urasa, fiancé, however you pronounce it. Because it's saying that in this way, the Torah that Moshe commanded is a sort of like a betrothal, thereby implying that the Torah's revelation was an engagement ceremony between Hashem and the Jewish people, the transcendent light serving as a circular ring affecting the betrothal, right? And how is that, like we learned last week, what does it mean that when Hashem gave us the Torah, it was sort of like that same idea where it's like a ring, that there's a lot more to you than is right now revealed or known, right? So the same thing when Hashem gave the Torah, we only like understood a superficial level, which at that time for the state of humanity, for whatever they were at, that's what they were able to grasp and contain. That's why a lot of the laws in the Torah reflect that kind of lifestyle, and that the hunters and the it's very superficial, and that's why there's a lot more than one woman. It wasn't about a connection. It wasn't about that kind of relationship, which is the ultimate relationship, which requires only one spouse. So so it's the same thing. It's sort of like when Hashem gave us the Torah at Sinai, it was also like the engagement. It was like the ring. There's a lot more in the Torah, in those words that you don't even understand, and you're going to start appreciating as you internalize, and as we grow and get closer and closer to Hashem, through Hashem revealing more of His pnimius over the generations. We are sort of drawing down from that transcendent level of Hashem's soul and incorporating it into our lives. And we're living those truths today, which is quite interesting, right? So like the things that were always there, now after Tafshin Ches, we're actually sort of like revealing that part of Hashem, which was always true, but was not able to be used till we were ready for it. Okay. Marriage, on the other hand, is a deeper state of union. The flow of bounty and revelation passes from bestower to receiver completely. There's nothing of the revealer that cannot be seen, held, and contained by the perceiver. Their union is consummate and parallels the physical relationship between husband and wife. Okay, so what we're saying is what we just said before, that Hashem was preparing us for being able to contain everything that Hashem wants to give. Like if you're married to a wealthy person, you have to be someone who can appreciate his wealth, can make him feel good about the fact that he's wealthy, knows how to use it properly to make the marriage more meaningful. You know, it's like you got to contain whatever he is, you know, whatever he can bring to the table, his talents, his skills. That's something that you could internalize and make use of it in a way that enhances your life. And, you know, so the same thing, Hashem wanted to have this beautiful relationship of a perfect world, of a peaceful, beautiful world where everything just works in harmony and so many beautiful things happen. So we have to be prepared to be able to contain everything that Hashem wants to give us. Okay, so he wants to give us wealth, right? You know what happens when somebody wins a lottery and they don't have the vessels to contain it? It destroys them. So that's the whole preparation. Hashem wants to give us everything, but if we don't know how to use it, there's addiction, there's all that stuff. So like that's what all this time was, to be able to receive this state, this pleasure, this abundance, everything working out. We don't have to chase it in a way that is so meaningful and beautiful and connecting and allows us to be one, you know, with God and not lose sight of God, you know what I mean? And just like there's such a loving, connected and pleasurable feeling at all times. Okay, and that's what a perfect marriage is supposed to look like. It's like everybody brings to the table what you need to make this most beautiful, harmonious relationship. If everybody really shows up as their true selves, they have what they need for the other one. You know what I mean? To really make it something really beautiful. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. There are 39 categories of prohibited work on Shabbat, each of which constitutes a particular creative labor. One of these categories is building, and included within it is the prohibition of opening containers. So we're talking about being a container to be able to contain God's bounty, and in a way that connects us to him, and we're in a true relationship, not in a way that we're just like using it and you know, chasing it and all that. Okay. So while the container is factory sealed, for example, the can of tuna or the bag of sugar, it is not actually functioning as a vessel since its contents are not available to the outside world. Halacha defines vessel as a container with an opening that allows access to the product within. Very interesting. Okay, so a vessel is something that already has something within it, and when it's open, it allows you to access what you have already inside. So what I'm understanding from this is that when we become vessels to contain Hashem's light or a husband's light, it's sort of like an opening to allow them to help us access our great lights and become the greatest version of ourselves. Like this, we were like, which is quite true because, right, we said that the feminine were denied their higher 11 lights, right, until Tafshim Ches. So, but it was always our lights. So, but we didn't have that opening to allow us to reveal what we really had inside. Okay. Consequently, when a person opens a can of tuna, they are effectively creating a vessel in that moment. Until they removed the bonded metal top, the tin was a partially constructed vessel in potential. By cutting away the top, its contents become accessible to human usage, and it enters the category of vessel proper. Okay, so it's about being open to allowing from whatever is above to help you reveal your greatest potential and self. It is thus true to say that the opener of the vessel is its maker. Okay, because without allowing the mashpia to show you what you really have and to support you in revealing what you really have, it's sort of like you're really not anything in a certain way, because you're not even like pushed to show what you are. So like the mashpia is the one that is like the maker of the vessel, because he the opener of the vessel. Okay, so in the relationship, he starts allowing you to get to know yourself and get to reveal who you really are in relationship to the marriage and the family and all that. Similarly, the first time a woman has physical relations, she becomes a vessel in the fullest sense of the word. And as below, so above, her capacity to receive on every level of soul is similarly awakened. So when we're talking about physical intimacy, okay, so it's like symbolic of the fact that she is now a vessel to receive on every level. It's not just physical intimacy. She's not just about relations, okay? She's, receiving support, what else? Advice, whatever it is, validation. So that's on an emotional level, whatever she needs to help her become her highest, most beautiful self. It's not just like marriage is just, okay, about intimacy. It's like, okay, that's on the lowest level. There's a lot more that you're ready to receive when you are in that marriage. Okay. If anybody has any questions, always just shout it out. And yeah. Similarly, the first time a woman has physical relations, we said that. A metaphor that describes this idea is an embossing stamp. The metal has a design engraved in bas relief, and when pressed against the paper or wax, it creates a negative image that perfectly matches the original design. The outward, yeah?
You skipped a couple lines. Will you go back to...
it could be that it repeats it, and so it sounds similar. So what are we up to?
It starts with, after similarly, the next sentence is, and as below, so above. Okay. I just feel like that I would like clarity on that.
And as below, so above, her capacity to receive on every level of soul is similarly awakened, right? So we just said that, like on an emotional level, on a physical level, on a spiritual level, on a, what else is it? Psychological level. She's now ready to receive what the masculine has to offer in order to help her reveal her greatest self and show up in her greatest capacity. Okay, and so we're saying is it's not just physical. There's Asiya, there's Bria, Yitzira, Atzilus, right? So on all your levels, you are a receiver. Okay, and that's the same thing with Klal Yisrael and Hashem. Through doing this Geula Avoda, we are now sort of like opening that can, ready to receive everything that helps us reveal our greatest abilities. Like we're going to shine like the most amazing people ever, because of this, readiness to receive Hashem fully. Kutra Brichu, we're talking about Kutra Brichu, the masculine part of Hashem.
What is as below, so above? I'm stuck there. Like what?
Right. So everything that we do down here affects higher levels in a similar way. So if there's a giver and receiver on a physical level, so it could be finances, it could be schlepping boxes, whatever it is, standing up for you when you need support, right? That kind of giving. And then there's emotional giving. It's like, validating and like, calming someone down and listening, right? So there's so many, so the same things. It starts with physical, but it's also true on every level. So a woman is a receiver on every level. She receives her husband, what he could give her. She could receive. In the past, it was also like the Torah that he had, right? The men were the ones who learned Gemara, and they, and everything, and then all these, they wrote all the Svarim and Rashi. It was all the masculine. So whatever so we received that as well. It was the intellect that they understood from the lights that they received, and the Rebbe gets into that. Okay. Now, The medical, okay, so her contours of spiritual receptivity are molded into shape by that encounter. So it's not just on a physical level. It's not just about sex. It's about everything else that you could receive in every way possible in the relationship. Okay. A metaphor that describes this idea is embossing stamp. The metal has a design engraved in bas relief. When pressed against the paper or wax, it creates a negative image that perfectly matches the original design. The outward projecting metal die actually carves out a custom vessel of perfectly suited proportions to hold its unique image. Okay, I'm not really clear on how that makes it clearer, but okay, if anyone understands that. Similarly, an inner covenant bond of spirit forms between a woman and her husband in their first relations. A man who lacks the strength of soul to impact his bride in this way will not succeed in forming the bond that defines marriage on all its inner levels, and their union will likely not succeed. This is something that Rabbi Manis Friedman is very big on. If a chassan does have the confidence that he could show up as a man in the relationship and be the man for his wife, it's not going to be a good relationship. A man has to have the confidence that he has what his wife needs to help her be her best self and to help it be a beautiful relationship. And if he doesn't have that confidence and he wants to come like a little kid and he still needs his mommy, he's not a man. It's not a good thing. Okay. If you're coming, yeah.
How does it work now with what you just said in regards to like in times before Mashiach, where the men are lacking confidence, right, and the women are supposed to bring up their confidence? How would that work? Because most men don't feel like men now, because like in Mitzrayim, they were feeling they were like emasculated.
Right.
So I'm curious how that would work, like realistically.
Okay, so reality, yeah. So in reality, that's how it's supposed to look. But in I would say ideally that's how it's supposed to look. But particularly in our generation, which is like the generation that is, it seems like the most challenged generation, because there's so much marriage challenge and all that. But I look at it as like hitting rock bottom so you could get to something better. If we stay this, put it this way, if what worked in the past worked, we wouldn't get to the true face-to-face unity. You know what I mean? So if a woman was going to get away with showing up in the way that she thought she has to, which is that she's the martyr and she's the giver, and if that would have made men happy, we would never get to the geula state of the women. So in the past, it used to work, right? Oh, she's such a balabusta, she's amazing, da da da. Nowadays, doesn't impress the men. A balabusta doesn't impress. He needs a real woman so he could feel like a real man. That's why these marriages are very, very challenged, but I see it as a way to hit rock bottom to go to something true and not the old way. So yeah, so even though ideally, it should look like that, but in a way, because it's not looking like that, it's really a sort of a bracha in pain, but it's a bracha so that it's like, no, that's not going to work anymore. It's just not going to impress the guy anymore that you made 6 cakes. He's not going for that, and whatever, you're not going to get your crown for that. So, we want real. And so, yeah. Okay. And so it says regarding the end of days, when Israel and Hashem finally consummate their union, your husband is your maker. Your husband, the one whose revelation of light and beauty has entered into your soul and carved out a space that can hold the full content of that revelation, he is your maker. You have become your full self by this experience. Now you can fulfill your highest function. The pleasure of consummation is the pleasure of becoming who you really are. Okay? See? Isn't that beautiful? It's like you have the contents of the tuna. I don't want to call us tuna, but like we were a closed can. We didn't really know who we are. So how do you know you have a beautiful marriage? If your husband is showing up in a way that you could have the pleasure of becoming who you really are.
So Bracha, what you're saying is that only through marriage can you really fully become who you fully are.
That's what I'm assuming, because I could just tell you for myself, who I thought I was before I got married became a whole different thing after I got married, when I had to deal with somebody else. I used to think, whatever. The way I showed up in life was I thought it was great, but when you have to learn the ropes, you start revealing. The way I was before I got married, I was a giver. So I would call it masculine. I was a giver, but I had to learn that's not what.
As a mother of small children, you also have to be a big giver.
Right, but I thought I had a dream that I was going to be the perfect wife, and I was going to have the perfect marriage. Well, that didn't work. So, and so as a teenager, that's what I thought, that I am just totally prepared. I am like kind, giving. What could go wrong? What could a man not love in a person? All right. Anyway, so we had a lot to learn. That in Geula times, it's not going to fly. You have to show up as a true feminine, which is what's in the can. It's a whole different story. And yes, I guess you do really, reveal your contents in a relationship. Yeah, in a marriage.
So that's why Adar is so nice, that now Adar is the fish, and now we can swim as good as we can.
Exactly.
Bracha.
Yeah.
Bracha. Yeah, hi, this is Simcha Chaya. Thanks so much for the class. I just wanted to make a comment. You were saying about, before you got married and after. So I just want to say that while you were saying this, something came up. Like I'm thinking, we're on Shlichos, and I was doing all this, all these events and all these things. And I realized that the more that I was doing, and I was so involved in being so success. I thought I was being so successful. And I would see my husband, he did not appreciate this. He did not, and I couldn't understand. I was
exactly.
I couldn't understand why he wasn't thinking, wow, this is amazing, doing all these events and getting all these people. And that was not what he wanted from me. And for years, I didn't understand it. And now, learning about Malchus, a few years ago, learning, it's that's not what's attractive to him. That's not what
he wants.
And now I could be in the kitchen, wearing my, clothing that I wear, which is more for, dancing or for gym, in the house, whatever. And I'm just doing, I don't know, I put a pan now with cinnamon and orange and I don't know what, just to give a good smell to I was thinking about the Ketores, right? And then it's this is so attractive, and the kitchen is messy, and I'm just, organizing, and I'm putting on, listening to a class, and this is attractive to him. And it's so interesting that I'm just being in this, and I'm wow, just to see the contrast. So I just wanted to share that.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what they really want. And so, and it was very confusing because we thought, oh, all right, so we'll do a little more because they've been not making him happy. So we'll do a little more. And they got nowhere, okay. So now we're learning that a woman is a light, and it's an energy, and that's what makes that, when she's in that light, that's what makes her attractive. That's what allows him to become his greatest self. And then there's a beautiful dance where they sort of build on each other. Each one knows their position, and they and then it works.
Bracha, can I ask you also a question? Just something that just came up also, I know on Shlichos, talking about Shlichos and being, the Rebbe has the Sikha about, women using their talents and everything. Could we say that we took this a little bit too far, not out of context, and it was the best that we interpreted, but I don't know, you hear the pressure of Shluchos doing and, and doing for others, and even coming to a point of codependency, that is not even so healthy. And then all of a sudden you hear everyone saying, but remember, the house is the main thing, and you have to be a kersabais and take care of your marriage. Those are the messages that we were hearing. First it was and maybe it was an energy. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that's what it was. Go, do, be mashpia. But then, then the marriage was suffering, the kids were suffering, you were depleted, we were depleted. And then all of a sudden everyone's oh, 1 second, are we losing the point here? So when you look at it over history, over these decades, and now coming back, no, that was not
right. Very similarly to
no.
Yes, 100%. Very similarly to thinking that if you're going to be the bar pak wife, your husband's going to be in love with you, and finding out in this generation it's not working. Okay, so the same thing, all the shluchas, they had this idea, but what I'm saying is the fact that it's not working is a bracha, because like you gotta, like, get, realize that it's not bringing you anything. The kids, everybody's suffering. And I remember by the Shluchas convention, the Rabbanim used to always say, by the Shluch, I don't want to say all the worst shalom bayis, the worst. Okay, notorious.
What?
Okay, that's what the Rabbanim used to say by the convention.
They used to say what? What's the worst? I didn't understand.
Have the worst shalom bayis.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
That is so okay. So you're saying it so it should be healed. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. That is crazy.
But that's how you heal it. It's like you gotta be crazy to realize what, if somewhere in the middle it sort of works, you're not gonna be hungry for something better. It's like sort of, okay, try going crazy, Abyssal. Now you see what's not working. And the Rebbe said, I even read recently in the Sheikh Chabad newsletter, where the Rebbe was saying about that the women are the Karas, so the teachers of Beis Shukka said, oh, so should we stop teaching? So the Rebbe said, don't worry. First of all, you could figure out how to teach and still be a Karas, because you could get help, you could, whatever. And he also said, but different times, I saw that letter, different times you have different availability. So when you're older and you're bored, it's great to teach. We're not saying you shouldn't. You could still be that charismatic. But if you're being overwhelmed, you could take a break from teaching. The Rebbe didn't say that even if you should be a teacher, you should be a full-time 24/7. And if you're not managing, the Rebbe said, I read the letter. I wanted to once read it to everybody, where the Rebbe says that, remember, first of all, if that's your koyach and it enlightens you, of course you should do it, but you also have to keep in mind what stage in life you're at and what's going on. And you could go on. You're not this provider. You're just doing it because it's a service that's needed. And then there's trust that there's other women who now are older or whatever, or single girls, that they could do it now. You know what I mean? It's not a black and white thing that you never. But when you have 5 babies, under 3, then and you're overwhelmed, you could slow down. And then when your kids are all out of the house, you could start, but you always have to maintain that commitment to that you are the light. That's the priority. So part of your light could be that when you're teaching, because it really gives you a high, but it can't be at the expense that you're stressed out. No, that you gotta, if you can't you gotta figure it out. You gotta figure out, but it's not about, what we do agree is, it's not about doing more. It's about expressing what you could give to the community at what time, and doing it in the best way that it doesn't affect the house. You know what I mean? It's not what it used to be with the Kfar Chabad syndrome. That's definitely not the idea. Yeah.
But Bracha, just one more thing I want to say. While you were saying that, I mean, maybe just to sum it up, like, the masculine is very black and white. Do this, do that. So we were very much following that. Okay, so do more. But then when you're talking about this, like, the feminine energy is so in the moment. Like, maybe one day you're going to want to have, host, 10 people. Maybe another time you want to just walk in the park. It's very fluid, and it's very like,
100%.
It's, how do you say, it's no black and white. So it's almost a little bit scary. I mean, scary, I'm saying in a way that, because you don't know.
Boundaries. Yeah, it doesn't have boundaries. It's one day like this and one day like that, and it's okay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and it gets people to appreciate you as a human being. He says, I'm sorry, my wife is a little overwhelmed this week. We're not having guests. So they learn for themselves how when you're overwhelmed, you could also take a break. What's not to like about it? This is Judaism allows you to be human. I want some more of it, Yeah, somebody wanted to share something. Gila? Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a way of thinking that the Rebbe always said you have to do more.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I think, because people didn't understand it in the right way. Because then you become, how do you pronounce it, a martyr?
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the right way to be Ovet Hashem b'simcha.
Right. So, and first of all, there's a difference between the masculine and the feminine, right? So the masculine sometimes might be stuck in just sitting there, whatever, and he needs a little push to do a little more. Go find a yid to put on tefillin instead of sitting on your desk and watching videos. You know what I mean? Whatever. You need that drive sometimes, But, women are not men. Women have a different light, and in order for that unity, and we could, and we're still, we're still influencing. You could give classes in how to be malchus to the women on Shabbos after shul. Something I used to do, and all these things. You could do. There's so much, especially when the kids get out of the house. That you could do in a beautiful way. That this, like, you could still have that balance. It's like you don't have to. You can do one thing a week or whatever, and guests, with help, and and don't put out 10 things, and there's a way. But the top priority is always check in with the fact, are you being calm, joyous, peaceful, serenity? And that's your priority. And it's beautiful. We could be vulnerable and say, this week I'm having a hard week, so I'm not having this. I used to say, I'm not doing this class this week, canceled, I'm having a hard week. Everybody could wait for me to.
Am I the only one not hearing bracha?
She's frozen. Oh, she popped off, I guess.
Okay, let's have a Verbringen. Who likes to say something?
Good idea. You go, Gila. Go on.
Yeah, then I want to see at least one person. Who was that? Shendel, hi. Let's have a Verbringen, Shendel. All the others can listen to us.
Let's verbring, sure.
Yeah. So I have the feeling I still have the energy of Purim, Baruch Hashem. Simcha. And here's Bracha coming back.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
It was your Purim energy, Gila.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. Ki b'simcha seitzeyu. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Unmute. Okay, I don't know how I
Yeah,
I think I am.
did.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes. Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
You hear
so
me?
the stage is yours.
Good.
Stage
Okay, now I have to
is
share
yours.
screen. 1 second. 1 second. I got to get my my text. A minute. I got to put it on. Alter Rebbe. Where is it? Rebbe. Where is it? 1 second. Alter Rebbe. I lost the text. Where is it? Voice of the bride. Here it is. Okay. All right. Now we have it. Okay. Now I'm going to come back on. 1 sec. Okay. Wait. 1 second. Here we are. And let me share screen. Share screen. Where's the voice of the bride? Where is it? Not here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Share. Okay. Let's close this. Okay, and then we have to, okay, let me first get to the page that we're up to, and then I'll put the recording back on. Or maybe it's already, is it recording? I don't know. Okay, we might have lost it. Okay, so we're up to, who knows what page we're up to?
It is recording after the pictures.
Okay, so this page?
Yeah.
Okay, the reason, right, so page 17, I believe. Yeah, we did page 17. Yeah, we did that. Okay, yeah, that's what up to page 17, and I'm going to do recording, continue. I hope it doesn't, where's the record?
It is recording, Bracha.
Oh, it is recording. Okay, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so similarly, okay, so what we were saying before, what was the last thing I said? Oh, I said it wasn't clear. Okay, so I said it wasn't really clear on what it was. 1 second, the minute. Okay. Okay. Here. I think we're page 18. Right. In marriage, the inner light is no longer displaced into a surrounding position. Okay. Rather, that's on page 18. In marriage proper, the inner lights are no longer displaced to a surrounding position. Rather, they return to their centers, which have now merged into a common core. So what I understand this to mean, and I'm sure maybe next week I'll understand it more, is that just like we were saying, before we got married, we didn't really know who we were. We had this idea of who we were. And then once we're in a marriage, so it's like, whatever we are is sort of like evasive, it comes into us, and then we got to start like revealing our essence. That's when we're finally able to reveal our essence. So it's no longer displaced in the surrounding position. It's like potential, but it starts coming out. It goes into our inner core, and we start getting in touch with it. Similarly, in the future, the full radiance of the infinite light will shine through the Torah. Its soul no longer hidden by the coarse materiality of ink on parchment that cloaks it now. Now, don't forget, this is the Alter Rebbe saying this 200 and how many years ago? So he's saying that in the future, which is now, okay? When he says in the future, he's talking about now. which is happening now. It's no longer hidden by the coarse materiality of ink and parchment. Every wisdom, insight, and mystical reverie will radiate forth for all to see. And so we've seen through the Rebbe's revelations, the Geula Sichos, the Mamish, the Pnimius HaTorah, and you see in the whole world that the whole world is actually, I guess, through the light of the Pnimius HaTorah being revealed, the whole world is actually coming into the same understanding of Hashem's truth and how to live in your highest potential and as connected as one with God, not just the Jewish people. It's like the whole world is actually connecting to it as well. Consequently, the sages equate the day of his espousals to the giving of the Torah at Sinai, for there began the engagement bond between Hashem and Israel. They vowed to wait for each other until the end of days when their time would be ripe for wedlock. The entire verse reads, "Go forth, O you daughters of Zion, and gaze upon King Solomon, even upon the crown wherewith his mother crowned him on the day of his espousals and on the day of his gladness of heart." The phrase, "the day of his gladness of heart," refers to the future when the marriage between Hashem and Israel will finally be consummated. Okay, so look at the fact that the heart is a feminine part, which was not really appreciated and it was suppressed. So it's interesting how it says the day of the gladness of his heart, because that's a part that has to be in full use in order for us to have that connection with Hashem, and we have to know how to reveal all its glory. The fullness of divine light will shine through the Torah and be received by Israel, filling their collective heart, bones, cells, and spaces with holy presence. Okay, listen to that. Bones, cells, and spaces with holy presence, right? And what does Yirmiyahu say? That the Torah Hadash of the future, that it will be Vahikimaisi bris chadash. I will make a new covenant with you, and it's not going to be a superficial coming down from the limited masculine mind. It's going to be in your body, in your bones, and you're going to know what the truth is. Yes, you have to have a hakdama. How do you call it? Whatever of Torah knowledge to be able to recognize what's really true and what's not. But at the end of the day, having learned all that and internalized everything, now we could use that as like the Torah wisdom is like the masculine that helps us like validate whatever's coming through from the body, from the heart, from the sinews, from the vessels. And so like it's like the truth comes in, and then we figure out how exactly is the best way to express it based on the wisdom of the Torah. So you need both. It's not like, so that's why it's like a halo, because even the superficial revelation of the Torah is still as valid in a certain way as the Pnimius. The Pnimius might be that there's something true about the fact that people chase materialism or something, right? But you need the Torah's wisdom, how to actually use it in the right way so that it's fulfilling, So, so that's how they come together. But the deepest truth is, why do people chase the material and the physical? Because it's the Tayu light. It's the highest light of God. It's that love, pleasure light of God. It's like the highest concentration, revelation of God in that. But then the Torah is what helps you use it correctly. But without it, you wouldn't really know how, without the recognizing the holiness of those desires, the Torah is really not complete. It's not the ultimate truth of Hashem.
We still need Torah and mitzvahs.
Right. Wow. Right. There's okay. So there's Torah and mitzvahs. Right, but there's a lot more to the Torah than Torah mitzvahs. Even in the words of the Torah mitzvahs, there's a lot of deep secrets in the Torah, right? And even the Torah mitzvahs, when Mashiach comes, it's going to look very different, So, but I don't know yet how it's going to look. Okay, don't ask me. No, we just know that the Rebbe says. Yeah.
But I ask because some people, they feel so enlightened, but I also feel like without the mitzvahs, they say they have God in their hearts. That's not enough.
Right. Okay. So the thing is like this, that it says at Har Sinai, I'm not sure if it was this piece or the Chafei Shvatzicha, the Rebbe gave the Hashem gave the Jewish people an extra piece of soul, which like makes them like need to express their relationship with Hashem through Torah mitzvahs. So if a Jew is not using that, he's not being fully expressed. He's not doing Torah mitzvahs. He's missing this great need of his, you know? So we have an extra piece of soul that creates within us a need to, you know, it's like, you know, you have a relationship with somebody's married, and let's say the man is also good friends with somebody else, but his wife has a different relationship. It's, you know, yes, we all know how to be nice to each other, you know, on certain levels, everybody's the same, but then there's a whole different relationship when it comes to the husband and wife. So this extra piece is the piece that Hashem added to the soul of the Jewish people when they accept.
Oh.
Fulfilled if we're doing Torah mitzvahs. But then there's the interpretation of to what extent. So as Geula comes, we start realizing what's really true and what's made up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I always said, like, you know, that you have to have 20 things at the Shabbos table is the made up part, and what's the true part, and what's that, you know what I mean? So that we mevarer through the Geula understanding of what's really true and what does Hashem really want. Hashem really wants a loving, peaceful, calm relationship, authentic, not fake, not holding everything in and faking that you're happy. It's real, thorough. And if anything's getting in the way, you have to question and figure out what's really true and what's not. And that's, you know, so that's going to be the perfect harmony between how we fulfill the Torah and what's really true, Hashem's truth. Okay. Because it's interesting because it says, all right, the Yirmiyahu says that I'm going to put it in your heart and in your sinews and your vessels, and this you're going to be able to keep, because it's going to be true. Like each person's going to know how to like truly express themselves in accordance with the Torah, but it's reflecting what's right for them, which is very beautiful. And that's not going to feel too heavy or too hard or constricting, because everybody's going to allow to be themselves. And it's going to be in a way that's just joyous and pleasurable. The Jewish law defines betrothal as a legal contract of intention to marry that requires one of several specific deeds to activate the obligations associated with that commitment. The Mishnah states a woman is betrothed in 3 ways: when she receives a sum of money or a gift equivalent to monetary value, and now, etc., etc. Nowadays, this is fulfilled by the exchange of a ring, an ornament that encircles the finger. Similarly, Israel is called a woman in relationship to Hashem, and she was betrothed by the encircling light that descends at Sinai and served as her engagement ring. Okay, it's an interesting question. Somebody once asked, like, if the Jewish people are women to Hashem, so does that mean that the men of the Jewish people have to act like the women? And so the answer is actually seen in the Chaf B'Shvat Sicha, where the Rebbe says that when the women connect to their light and to create harchavas hadas, expansiveness, that energy in the home, and it allows the whole family, including the husbands, to get out of their limitations, then they could be pleasant people. They could be Isha Na'eh to Hashem. So what it really means is that it allows even the men to show up pleasantly. Okay, so it's not like the men have to be women, because within marriage is going to still be that masculine energy and the feminine energy. But in relationship to Hashem, the men are going to be authentic and true to themselves, and therefore they're going to be very pleasant and beautiful and fully, you know, evolved or whatever, and mature. And the women will be themselves. So that's like the wife of Hashem. But it's not going to be that the men and women are going to be, just because we're the men are the wife of God, does not mean that the men are going to be like women and have the same service. In relation to Hashem, and she was betrothed by a certain light that descended at Sinai and served as her engagement ring. Okay, and then just think if I should do. Okay, so let me just do quickly, because we had lost a little time, so we could just get more material in. According to Kabbalah, the role relations that characterize marital union are evolving through time. Okay, The model that describes our present stage of development is slowly shifting, and after passing through several intermediate milestones, will eventually invert. Rabbi Isaac Luria identifies 7 developmental stages in the evolving relationship of men and women from Eden to the end of time. Until the final stage, women receives her cosmic flow of light, bounty, and consciousness via the intermediary of her spouse. Her relationship to the transcendent aspects of God is mediated by her husband, and all of her divinely bestowed gifts must first pass through him. His work is to identify which of his spiritual bounties truly belong to him and which are her rightful inheritance that he must release into her possessions. So what I'm understanding about this is it was like, the role of the man and the role of the woman, according to what was understood through the masculine understanding of the Torah. So that's how, and he had to allow her to be that version of woman and help her be that version of woman. And he showed up in the way that he showed up, as understood through the masculine understanding, which is still very similar to what's going to be when Mashiach comes. It's just that there's a whole, different, it's like we're not going to be it's like we're not going to be the external women that we were. I mean, there's still certain, we're still going to be the nurturers. We're still going to be this, we're still that. But we have a whole light which we gift the world and we bring to the world, which is now going to, now we're activating. Yeah, somebody want to say something?
Yeah, I think this is a very different way. That's what I understand from you. This to me looks like the man says, this is how you are serving Hashem, and that's much more in a rational way. And the women are much more according to feelings and the heart. And we used to be taught by the men, this is how you serve Hashem.
Exactly.
And now that's not like that anymore.
Right.
So that's what looks to me what's said here.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's done in a certain way where, it's like, you're not dropping everything, that you did in the past. You're still showing up as a mother and as a wife, but you're sneaking out, and touching other things and showing, bringing back different lights and then he's like, something, I think this is a little better than the way we used to do things, so it's not like this, it's chaos. Okay, nobody's fed anymore. Nobody's, I mean, there's still certain things that are there. Everything's very organized and very beautiful, but you're now connecting to something even more beautiful. And he's starting to realize like, this is what I was always hungry for. And so it's like, you don't have to force it down his throat. He has to appreciate the value when he sees the effect that it has on him and on you and everybody.
But I think the essential difference is that now we are allowed to be emotional. And before we were more needed to get more into the
mind,
thinking.
The mind. Right. And even like, and it was looked down at is, and now the emotion is the main thing, if you understand, because the ultimate goal is to be emotionally in love with God, which is the emotions. So, that's really the highest light, but it wasn't appreciated because, people get lost in their emotions. They could also go a little, they don't know how to channel it correctly. They don't know what to do with it. It's like, if you don't have how to calm your emotions down, so it's no point even in bothering with emotions because it's just, you don't even know what to do with it. So just stuff it down, But now, Baruch Hashem, we're seeing the value of all the things. Oh, when you feel like this, you could do that to feel better. You could do that. And we're bringing in all this new light. And personally, so we're going to end over here. Whoever wants to share anything, I'm personally seeing since teaching this Rebbe Kol Kallah that my voice is coming out. I'm seeing huge transformations in ways like I can't even believe. In my family, I'm seeing miracles like in a whole new level. Like what? What? Wow, that's Baruch Hashem. And I'm noticing it. It started since we this new shift started since we started this class. So Baruch Hashem. If anybody wants to share anything or ask anything, the mic is open. Let me close the stop share. Let me stop the share. Okay.
I'd love to share something.
Sure.
So first of all, I had an insight over Purim that it relates to this, that the man has been giving us this light to develop ourselves, and I had this insight that they are now diminished from giving this light, and that this light that we have now, we give back to them. It's very nourishing. And it brings vitality back into them, because now they feel their worth, their value. And when it was incredible, because it's almost like when we get exhausted from giving so much, they weren't even aware that they were giving so much. And when I look at it that way, it really transformed how I can give to my husband in a different way, you know? And so I had an experience last night where
it's like reviving him, replenishing him.
Exactly. It's literally like a plant. Like it's like you know, it's like it needs water.
Right. They're like pooping.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, like 6,000 years of being the givers.
And I had to make that shift because
now comes the woman with the light.
Yeah, exactly. I would get so frustrated with him and mad at him because he would be so schleppy, and I was like, you know, like. But now when I looked at it that way, it just really transformed things. And so, I guess because of that, we had a discussion last night, my husband and I. And instead of me doing like lecturing and blah blah blah, I said what was going on inside of me, and then he's like, "Do you have more to say?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well," I said, "I don't," and I'm so tired. I said of like putting into this. I said, I just, you know, brought things up that I noticed, whatever. And then, you know, he's like, okay. And it was really such a change, because I feel like even the light went off in my head, like, let him just work on that little piece that you just gave him. Don't give him so much that it just like, he doesn't take anything away. And that was probably the first time I've ever done that, which was amazing. But then he came in, and then I just went off and did my thing, like made myself happy. And then he came in and asked me to go to a wedding with him in 2 weeks. And it was interesting because I think he felt this like, uh-oh, she's mad at me, you know, or whatever. But he extended himself, and I said, yeah, I'll go. Then he comes back and he says, you know, this wedding is at the beach. He says, how about if I book us a room for a couple nights right on the beach, you know, oceanfront, premium suite. And the whole thing was that he was treating me, I felt, like his employee. I'm not your personal assistant secretary. I'm a wife, and I'm different. And like, why do you want a wife? I said to him, what does it mean to you? And I left it at that. Like, just think about that. And it was just, it's like he got it, and he got it so fast. Wow. It was a miracle.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Anybody else? Yeah, you want to unmute, Hannah? You want to unmute yourself, or should I unmute? Ask to unmute. You know how to unmute the. I don't know how to.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
I've been learning the mimer about the bride and groom from the Alter Rebbe, and one of the things that was new to me, very new, the concept that we can hear Hashem speaking through our husbands. Maybe I'm saying it a little too simply, but it's so fascinating, because thank God we're married longer than any of you are probably old, but it's an ongoing, beautiful relationship. And what I learned was that when my husband says that I'm special, I go, I say, he's just saying that, or he reads Ashes Chayil to me in English, tells me that I'm that special woman. But now I realize, what is he saying? Hashem is telling you, you are special. And I just love putting that together, Bracha, and I thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Wow. That's beautiful. And
it's a
so
treasure.
much to expand on that. Like, now that you're saying that, I don't know if we got up to it, but it could be like Kutsha Brichu, the masculine part of Hashem, uses the masculine man, husband, to be his mouthpiece, right? Remember we said that Atzmos is revealed through when everybody's true to themselves. So, right. So Hashem is speaking through your husband what he wants to tell you, which is beautiful.
And the
So-
shefa, and like the husband wants to bring this shefa to his bride. And I looked at it that way also. Like he wants to give, but he's so stuck. So I get to be this vessel, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's
Bringing
also
this,
part of
this
learning
bright
to
light
be,
that allows. Yeah.
being the receiver. I think I am. I think I'm really good. I love presents. I love when my husband does things for me, but this is a different kind of receiving, a much different level. I really, really life-changing. I love it too, because like you all know that after as many decades to the coming of Mashiach, we should continue to see that our husbands can give us so much if we let them. In the early days of our marriage, I did not let my husband give to me. I was a little critical, a little bit, whatever. But we learn, constantly learning. That is what is the excitement of marriage. We never stop learning about each other. Thank you.
And being really open to receive.
Beautiful, right? That,
and believe
right?
it.
That light from the, right? We said that from that ring keeps on being more revealed and more revealed, right? So that's beautiful. Yeah. Anybody else before we? Okay, so thank you so much. To be continued. Great seeing you guys, and Basuras Tavis. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.